Hi, everyone. This is Dan at Dan's Retirement Journey. We're Philippines bound, and it looks like we're live on StreamYard. So I have to admit, this is the first time I've ever tried to use StreamYard. I'm a little bit nervous to see how this works out. Today, I just wanted to talk a little bit about uh, how much it costs to live in the province of the Philippines, particularly Bye Leyte, where Minnie and I are going to retire to. I got a lot of comments from a prior video about how much it costs to actually live in the province or in the Philippines. And I just wanted to address a couple of them. But before I do that, I know we're only about an hour and a half away from celebrating 2022. And I would think that Typhoon Odette put a little bit of damper on that celebration. But Filipinos are resilient people, and I would imagine that it may take a little bit of time to recover, but they will recover because they're strong people, and that's one of the reasons why we want to retire to the Philippines. And let's talk a little bit about why I think it costs $800 per month to live in the province. Sammy's joining us. Hi, Sammy. How are you? Nice to see you. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Sammy. I appreciate you. Appreciate you and your broadcasts and your live streams. Really enjoy them. So basically, I wanted to say that now I should be in the Philippines within the next 6 months for sure. Retirement is only about 3 months away from me, and then I figured that it's going to take Minnie and I probably about 3 months in order to get all the paperwork done, and I didn't want to be pressured in having to do that all in a 30-day period of time. And so we're probably going to be entering the Philippines sometime, I would say, in July or August. And we may make a few pit stops in between there, but we most likely will be there sometime in July or August. But I think if we make one or two pit stops, I mean, we are retired, and this is not only the beginning of Dan's retirement journey, but it's also the beginning of Minnie's retirement journey. And I know that there are a few places that she'd like to visit before we make our way home to Bye City Leyte. So right now we're in Sacramento, California, and as many of you know, we put our house for sale, and the sale closed in November. And so that gave us a little bit of a cushion, so we could build or have a little bit of an emergency fund once we make the move to Bye City. But anyway, the whole idea behind this live broadcast, my very first and last broadcast of 2021, was to discuss a little bit how we're comfortable with that number of surviving in the Philippine province at $800 per month. Not only is it enough money, it's way more than enough money. And I just want to put out a few factoids in case most Westerners don't know. Most Filipinos survive on a budget of about $250 or $300 US dollars per month. And I know there have been a lot of comments about if you want to live in the Philippines on a very, very low budget, one way that you could do it is by living like a Filipino. But quite frankly, just like to point out that more Filipinos are living more like Westerners, as Western culture encroaches on the Philippines. The Philippines seems to want American things, and they want a little piece of American culture. And so $800 is let's see, it says Sammy says $800 is too much if you're not living too much. Yes, I get it. So the point being that if you're living in a city like Cebu, which I think is pretty close to Bye Leyte, I think you go to Ormoc and now you can catch the fast ferry. It probably is I don't know, what is it, Sammy, a two-hour boat ride or something like that. You're gonna pay probably twice the money to live in the big city of Cebu. But if you're living in a province like Bye Bye Leyte, $800 is okay. I know that myself personally, I would want to take more money than that, so that I have not so that I have a really Western style comfort of living. It's not about that. It has more to do with to be able to build an emergency fund in case I need to access medical care or some such thing. I want to make sure that we have the money to be able to do that. So here's the other thing. Rents there are going up. I know for a fact that they are. It's because that Minnie and I we did help with rent by renting it was more of a Western style house than not in Bye Bye City Leyte, and I believe we were paying somewhere in the area of $120 per month. So that $120 per month is a fraction of what you would pay here in the United States. So if you're transplanting yourself from the U.S. to the Philippines, one thing you're going to notice is that the cost of housing. Okay, yeah, I'll take care of that. I'm going to make a link so that people can find me on Facebook. I think you'll find me under the name Daniel Herrera, not necessarily under Dan's Retirement Journey, because I haven't set up that Facebook page yet. So if you go to Daniel Herrera, Sacramento, California, you're going to be able to find me. And you can also find Minnie at Minerva David. She's on Facebook also. So what I was talking about is the idea that one of the first things you're going to notice is you have way more money in your pocket because housing is less expensive. Of course, one thing you should realize that as more Westerners transport themselves or transplant themselves into other countries, you're going to start seeing an increase in rent. And once the house was done being built in Bye Bye City Leyte, in one of the barangays there, one of the areas there, the house that we were renting for $120 per month, they raised the rent, and so now they're collecting more money for the rental of that house. So you could already see it happening. But here in Sacramento, I would say that the average rent for an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, because that's where I have experience now, because once we sold the home and then we had to find a place to live, and so we transitioned into an apartment, and we're paying $1,500 per month. That's $1,500 per month. And so you see, you're only going to pay about a fraction of that, or 10% of that, in the Philippines. But here's the whole thing. Well, we're talking about, hey, Billy, how's it going? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining the live stream, my first attempt here. So I'm a little bit nervous. So I was just getting ready to talk about what the apartment is costing. Once we sold the home in Sacramento, we had to find a place to live, and so we moved into this one-bedroom apartment. And it's nothing fancy. It's very, very basic, and it's an older apartment, and we're paying $1,500 per month in rent, which is crazy money. I mean, it's absolutely insane money. Fred, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. And so, but for right now, if you're living in the province, or you plan on living in the province, I remember you. You're the brother. Yes, you're the brother from Sacramento, from Rancho Cordova suburb. Thank you so much for subscribing and joining the live stream. As I was saying, the things that are getting out of hand here in the United States are the cost of housing, and also the cost of medical. Medical is absolutely insane. And so I think that one of the reasons why a lot of expats end up leaving for other countries, not only the Philippines, but there are other countries that expats move to is because of the cost of medical and housing. Those two are those are number one and two. You know, number one housing, number two medical, and number three is the cost of food. Except that, you know, Typhoon Odette, it threw us a curveball in the Philippines. You know, it threw us quite a curveball. I would call Typhoon Odette a 15 or 20-year event. And so I've talked to a lot of people who don't even recall this ever happening, where it took out such a wide area, where it impacted such a wide area of the Philippines. And so it caught us all off guard, you know. And but it's not going to change my mind in moving to the Philippines, because I do know it was a 1 in 15-year event. People have said that Leyte and Samar, they get hit all the time by typhoons, and perhaps that's true, but they don't have this type of magnitude of damage. You know, so as I was saying, our house survived the typhoon. I think it's because it's a concrete structure, and I went with 6-inch hollow block for the exterior walls. And so I don't know why I did that. I just felt like maybe it'll be a little bit stronger if we go with number 6 as opposed to number 4. And it seems to have been worked out okay. From what I understand, there wasn't any damage to the house or the roof, and so we're thankful about that. Although our hearts go out to all those that have suffered. So Odette threw a curveball as far as the cost of food goes, because now the price of rice and all these other things are starting to skyrocket. And we're not exactly sure if that's directly related to the typhoon, but it doesn't help, because the cost of food was going up. It was starting to climb anyway without Odette coming into the picture. And now, of course, it's getting crazy. One sack of rice, I mean, I could tell you how much it's increased over the last 10 years since I started buying rice for family members and for charities in Bye Bye Leyte. I mean, it's just going absolutely insane. So the Philippines, actually, one reason why that may be happening is because they import the majority of their rice. And so rice is life in the Philippines, and it means that if you don't have it, you know, you can't survive in the Philippines without it. And so people, you know, will pay the price for the cost of rice. That's just a fact. All right, so how much money do you need in the Philippines? So I just wanted to share a few factoids, and I've got some notes so I don't get lost. If you do Google searches on this, you're going to find this information out. It's going to probably be surprising to you. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to take a quick sip of my 3-in-1. Beautiful. I love it. All right. So that's one of the things that I love about the Philippines, is you're going to be able to go down to the Metro Martyr and or the SNR and scoop up that Nescafe 3-in-1. I love that coffee. Of course, people say it's not good for you, but hey, I don't know. You know, I'm going to be 65 years old soon, and I don't know. You know, I mean, what do you think? It'll stunt my growth? I'm not sure. Okay, so here's some factors that people should consider before moving over to the Philippines if you're from the West. You know, and I started looking at how long people live, average lifespan of Filipinos versus Americans, because I think there's a correlation between, I think there's a relationship between how long people live and their access to medical care. And this is one of the things that expats or people from the West are going to have to consider when moving to the Philippines. So the average lifespan for a Filipino, now I didn't separate it by gender. I just decided to lump it all together and get an average. This is females, males put together. Average lifespan is 71.23 years. And so the question is this because of limited access to medical care? Now, for Americans, again, this is male and female. The average lifespan is almost 79 years for 2019. And so I think that I'm going to postulate, I'm going to offer up an idea, and that would be perhaps it's because we have better access to medical care. But is it great medical care? People seem to think so. See, people seem to think that it's great medical care, but truth be told, we rank at like number 37 globally. There are other countries that provide better medical care than the United States. I don't know where people get the idea that the United States provides the best, the best, the best, the best. We're good. I mean, the top, but here's the whole thing. Do you think for being in 37th place and for what we pay, what we end up paying, what the cost of medical care, shouldn't we be a little bit higher up on that global list of the delivery of medical services? And we know in the Philippines that in cities like Manila, Cebu, and even in some of the provinces that have medical teaching hospitals, that medical care is improving, and we have internationally accredited hospitals close by City in obviously in Cebu. And you can look at other YouTube vloggers where they've had to, and they tell a story about how they had to go to one of the 2 or 3 top hospitals in the Cebu area, and they're perfectly happy and impressed with the delivery of services. And so that's something that needs to be considered. And of course, in one video, I talked about open heart surgery. Let's say that you needed open heart surgery. You needed heart bypass. I probably will need it. I'm heavy. I don't eat right. I mean, I see the golden arches, and it's just like a magnet drawing me to it. So I probably have a clogged artery or two. Who knows? I feel okay. I've had a couple surgeries, the eye being one, and a few other things, but nothing really serious. Nothing that I say is really serious. So thing is, medical care, access to medical care is there in the Philippines, but the question is, how do you pay for it? Do you buy insurance, or do you end up self-insuring? And that, I'm telling you, that's a dilemma. That is a dilemma. So this weekend, by the way, will be the first weekend that I'm eligible to apply for Medicare, because you can apply for 3 months prior to your 65th birthday. And I'm in that 90-day zone, and so I'm going to apply as quickly as possible. So now Part A and Part B, it's complicated. I didn't really want to talk specifically about that, but I will be signing up for both Part A, Part B. And for most of you in the States, it's an 80-20 plan. They pay for 80% of services, you pay for 20. And the key is you have to be able to figure out a way to pay for that other 20% if you're living in the States. So, but here the dilemma is, what if you're on a fixed income budget, and of what the average male, single American male makes in Social Security? And so that's what I'm kind of like leading into. When they talk, what the average amount of monthly income is for retirees, they're combining household income, and so you can't really look at those numbers. They're combining household income and then sharing those numbers with you, and that's kind of false. The people that are transplanting themselves over to different countries, they're not necessarily single. They're not single. I mean, they're not married. They're single men, and you have a few single women in there. You have very, very few married couples. And so I'd like for somebody, if they want to comment about that, tell me if I'm wrong about that. But I don't think I am. So you have to look at the single income numbers, right? And so I went and I did a little research on Google and came up with them for 2000. I believe these are 2019 or 2020 numbers. By the way, I want to give you comparisons about lifespan, because they're thought provoking. I had said that an average Filipino lifespan, whether you're man or woman, is 71 years plus a quarter of a year. But Vietnam, it's 75.4, and in Thailand, it's 77 years. So why would Thailand have, that kind of longevity? You have to think about that, or Vietnam for that matter. Is it that they have better access to medical care? Is it that they have cleaner water? Is it that you have to think about all the different things that might be going on there. But when you compare to the West, the United Kingdom average lifespan is 81.2 years. And so, I mean, that's a pretty significant difference if you're going to compare people who live in the UK with people who live in the United States. I mean, it's almost mind-boggling that they have that kind of longevity in comparison to what's going on here in America. But I'm sure, you'd have to take a look at all kinds of cultural things that come into play there. So, is it access to medical care, and can you afford it on the money that you're bringing to the Philippines? So that's the key. So I was using the example of $25,000 will pay for open heart surgery in one of the private hospitals in Cebu. That's the way that I would go. And so I doubt that I would step foot into a public hospital unless I need to be stabilized. So someone said in one of the video comments, and I think it's legitimate. It's totally a great comment. They said, everything is all well and good until you have an emergency. And then what are you going to do? You're going to have to go into that public hospital and you're going to have to be stabilized. And then you're going to have to figure out how to arrange transport to one of the hospitals. In this case, close by City Leyte, which is most likely going to be Ormoc or Cebu. So you're going to have to put all that plan together, and hopefully you're going to have that emergency fund or the insurance to back you, when you're ready to go. You have to plan for the emergencies, is what I'm saying. And so I'm lost. I don't know which way to go, So I plan on going over, and I'll be there by August for sure. But I think Minnie wants to make a couple of pit stops. Thailand has been mentioned. Minnie's been to Thailand once. I've been to Thailand quite a few times. But Minnie would like to explore and see all the places that I've been also. So she wants to go to places like Pattaya and Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, see the Golden Triangle, go down to Hua Hin and all those different places. So I figure, well, why not? We're retired. People say that in the beginning of retirement, it's kind of like a vacation for people in the West, and I believe that. I feel like I'm getting ready to go on vacation. Here's the thing. I don't know how old any of you guys are, but there's this cycle of denial that you go through when you're retired. It's almost like the denial of death, It's very interesting, It's sort of like you're elated when you start thinking about it, then you start going through this period of depression, and then you start going through a period of acceptance, and then there's jubilation, and when you start finding your way, you have to go through this cycle because you can't believe that you've reached this age and this milestone. I mean, it is kind of depressing if you think about it from this perspective, In fact, I'll share this with you. I'll share this perspective with you. And that is that when you reach the age of 65 in America, it's a traditional age in which most people retire. Mostly in America, they're retiring younger. 62 is when the year people start pulling their social security check. But I waited to 65. I really can't explain why, other than hearing the voice of my dad saying to me, do your 20, work until you're 65. That's the only thing that I could think of. Is I was hearing my dad talk to me when I was a kid. My dad worked for 37 years for the same company, and I did not. I was a latecomer to working for someone. I actually have been an entrepreneur for the majority of my life. And so going to work for somebody was initially an anomaly. I started working for someone and then I was like, oh, I'm just passing through here. In fact, quite frankly, that's the way I still feel about working there in Sacramento in general. Anyway, I got all these. I was lucky, it was a nice save. I was, I'm going to be celebrating 22 years of working for the same company, which if you know me, you wouldn't have put your money on me. You wouldn't have bet that I would have survived even the first year of employment, because it's a governmental service job, and all the things that you hear about governmental service, well, they're kind of true. So anyway, didn't really want to get into that. Hope none of my coworkers are watching, because I might have to hear about it on Monday. All right, so what were we talking about? Oh yeah, the money. So listen, it's probably for those of you that have that $800 or $1,000 a month. Do you have a choice? Do you really have a choice? I know you can live in the United States on $800 or $1,000 a month. Right now, today, I don't know if you're going to be able to do it tomorrow. There are parts of the country that you could move to, and live on $800 or $1,000 a month. But most people that are entering into retirement, they're calling it a day on their working life. They don't want to have to suffer during retirement. They want a certain level of enjoyment. And that's why they move to other countries, because they know their odds of getting to that level of enjoyment are pretty good. In other words, they're way better than the alternative of staying here in the United States. So anyway, Filipinos, they live to the average age of 71, probably because their access to affordable health care is limited. Expats were a little bit better off, but maybe not that much. Randall, hey, how's it going? I'm doing my first live stream. I'm trying to get the hang of it. I'm way nervous. I'm probably going, you know how I do a lot. All right. So anyway. Okay, so we're talking about how much money you bringing over there. All right. The averages on how much, you probably have heard on other blogs, so I'm going to validate some of them. Well, I was going to give you the numbers on single men. That's what I'm trying to do, right? Because single men are the ones that are moving primarily over there to the Philippines. Maybe they want to go and find, have another relationship. Maybe things didn't work out so well in the States. Oh, by the way, I just like to point out, oh, thanks. I'm getting some nice compliments. I appreciate that. Those compliments that I'm doing okay. Just like to point out that Minnie and I have been married 16 years. So none of you here, but there have been one or two nasty comments about older men going over there to the Philippines to find younger women. Well, what the heck? Of course we are. Of course we are. Things don't work over there in the Philippines the same way they do in the West. I mean, in the West, things are changing a lot relationship wise. I got to tell you, things are changing. When I married Minnie, I wanted to make sure that I didn't run into any of these pitfalls, any of these traps that cause my marriages to Western women to break down. I've been married quite a few times, I'll have to admit. But to Minnie, 16 years. So why is that? How is it that happened? It could be that there's a cultural difference between Eastern and Western women. And so real quick, I'll touch upon this subject of Westernization, I think it's called, right? Where, oh no, you don't want to take a Filipina to the U.S. She'll become Westernized, and then she's going to run off with some younger dude. Yeah, it probably happens, But check this out. There's a trend now here in the United States where younger women are hooking up with older guys. It's trendy. Go discover it. Go look on Google, do a Google search, and you're going to start seeing that the trend is also occurring here. Why would it be that it's occurring here? Think about that. Could it be that the U.S. economy is sort of hitting the skids, or that we're hitting bumps in the road here, and the younger Western women, the younger American women, are starting to figure out that they are better off in a more stable environment. The things that women from Eastern cultures like the Philippines and Thailand and Vietnam have known for years, that this might not be such a bad thing, and they have a different way of viewing, the caring of their mate, and so, I mean, it was challenging, we're more stable by a certain age, and we're not necessarily in a hurry to go out and do those crazy things that we used to do when we were younger, right? So anyway, as Western culture encroaches on Southeast Asia, it will change. You could already start to see the change. And so what you do is you're rolling the dice, you're gambling that it will take at least the rest of your life to catch up with you. I'm talking about the obvious things. I mean, once McDonald's pulls into the province, the game's over as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'm talking about any fast food giant, not just specifically McDonald's. I think I just said that I love McDonald's. I just can't stand having to wait all that time in the drive-through trying to get the Big Mac. Okay, we will see you, Fred. Thanks for joining us. We will see you soon. Okay, so where was okay? So as you see this encroachment of Western culture, then you're going to experience some change. I don't know what that change is going to look like. I have no idea. We have to wait and see. It could be good or it could be bad. I don't really know. But for right now, everything is pretty much the same as the first trip that I ever took there many years ago. And I have been going there for a very long time. So the thing is that no, you can see it changing. You can see the women changing, but one of the things that isn't changing is their wanting to get with a stable male, and so that's why the foreigners garner the attraction. That's why they get the attraction. That's what is attractive to females, younger females in the Philippines, and older females, in the Philippines as well. So not all women are into foreigners over there, by the way. You guys that have been there know that. You guys all right, so the money. Yeah, I keep going off on these tangents. I have so much to say. But anyway, I'll probably lose some of you pretty soon if I don't get on with it. All right, so what is it? What's your idea? Someone tell me what you think. What do you think the average retirement income is for a single man over the age of 65 retiring to the Philippines? I know. I mean, I got the number right here. I mean, I pretty much know what it is. So give or take a couple of $100. Oh, okay, Jose. Thank you so much. You take care of yourself. I will take care of that link. Once I figure out how to do it, I'll embed the link. Like I said, I'm very, very new at this, and so how the whole thing works is still being discovered. Oh yeah, Jose, $1,500 to $1,800 US per month, and you're right on the money. You know, it's going to be in that range. It's going to be somewhere between $1,500 to $1,800 per month. And so most people are going over there with enough money. But truth of the matter is, you could live on less. And so everybody's saying, well, it depends on your lifestyle. Well, of course it does. Of course it does. Happy New Year, everybody. It depends on your lifestyle, but you don't have, see, when somebody says in their video vlogs, this is the way that this is my opinion. When they say something like, you know, well, you do okay if you live like a Filipino, that's kind of insulting if you think about it. I mean, yeah, I mean, think about what you're saying. You know what I mean? Living like a Filipino. Well, living like a Filipino is living like an American. You're transplanting yourself into their culture, you know, into their environment. You're the intruder. You're the visitor, you know, and you're embedding yourself into their culture. And so my objective is to live as closely, is to not go in there and somebody once said, I think it was Mike Savage on his radio program, said something like, "Oh, the reason why expats go overseas is so they can lord over the masses, and they could show off their wealth and all this other crap." But the reality is, we don't have that money to show off. In other words, the reality is we don't have that kind of. I mean, what's he talking about? I mean, are we talking about? Oh yes, I'm going to go over with $1,500 and $1,800 per month, and I'm going to throw my money around. Are you kidding me? That would be enough to have a nice, comfortable life, but not much more than that. And so that's what I think most people are seeking. You know, correct me if I'm wrong. And then in that journey, you're providing stability using that money for your partner, your spouse, and their family, quite frankly, because that's part of the culture. And so in the case of Minnie and I, hey, thanks for joining us, Sammy. I really appreciate it. I'll see you on your live stream. We set the whole thing up with that in mind. In other words, we built the house that we would need in order to provide for her close family members. That would be her mother and father, and her brothers, and of course us. You know, and so that was the whole motivation behind building that house. I mean, listen, we've been helping them for the entire time. You know, better than 20 years, better than 20 or 25 years. Here's the whole thing. The way that I see it, you know, it is an obligation, you know, to help provide for your spouse's family. I mean, I never looked at it any other way. And quite frankly, I don't understand how anybody else can look at it any other way. And well, I guess I've been kind of lucky because Minnie has a kind of compact family, and so we're talking about 4 or 5 people, and so that helped, right? So I kind of know what the costs are as far as what it costs to live in the Philippines, because Minnie and I have been providing for them for such a long time. But check this out. Here's the other thing, and so you also want to have a little cushion there for traveling and doing those other things that you would enjoy if you were living in America. As a matter of fact, what do people do these days? What have I heard they do? Oh, they sell the house and then they go out and they buy an RV, and they spend the first 5 years of retirement traveling across the country in this RV. They get tired of it. They sell the RV. and live happily ever after in their rented house. Something like that, right? Hey, all we did was just cut out the RV part. That's all. The traveling is there, you know, and so we kind of planned our budget around those things. But if you don't have the budget for travel, pick the place that you want to live and establish yourself there, and you could have as wonderful as a happy life as you can anywhere. I'm telling you. Let's see. Living in the city is expensive, about 2,000 USA to live in high rise. Manila is crowded too. That's right. I love both the cities of Manila, and I love Cebu. I like Cebu a lot better, but you saw the devastation that occurred to Cebu. It's unimaginable that would happen, because I'll tell you the truth. I had planned on spending at least an equal amount of time in Cebu as in Bye City Leyte, because I figured that if I'm close by where the private hospitals are, then 50% of the time at least, then I'm good to go. And that may not happen now. It all depends on how quickly they're able to bring back the infrastructure that they had there. I feel very badly about it. In my mind's eye, it's a once in a lifetime event. But people are talking about global warming and all these things, and these may indeed be a factor in the changing weather. We just don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on the weather changes in the Philippines, because, like I say, in my mind's eye, this was a once in a lifetime event. How often have you heard of Cebu getting hit like that? In fact, in one of the live streams that Gio put on, I actually asked them, "What do you think about living in the city of Bye Leyte, for retirement?" And he said, "Well, it's okay, just so long as the rainy season, you move safe city like Cebu." So for the last 20 years, Cebu has been in what do they call that? The shadow of the typhoon, and barely got hit at all. But of course, the same held true for Davao, and Mindanao and areas like that. They were in the shadow of the typhoon. It's because of where the typhoons form out there in the Pacific Ocean, the South China Sea. It's because of where they form. Manila is the one that gets hit all the time, right? Luzon, the island of Luzon. It either comes across the north on its way to Vietnam and China. See, but this one it made a wide swath across the south, as many of you know. And areas such as southern Leyte got devastated. But Bye Leyte, it boggles the mind why it didn't sustain that type of damage. Some areas got hit, but it just boggles the mind as to how that whole thing works. When I get there, I'm going to do some more research on that. I'm not sure exactly why that happened. And so Tim K and them down there, you've seen the great work that him and his wife Chrissy have been doing. And of course, in Negros Oriental, we've got a lot of vloggers. The influencers need to be really thanked for going to work. Just as quickly as they possibly could to put those programs together where they could provide much needed supplies to those in need. And if you haven't donated, I think most of the people here, you've probably donated to Critter Hunter or one of the programs they've got going on. That's the quickest way in order to get money and supplies to the people that need them. I know the USAID is involved with plenty of the nonprofit organizations down there. I know they made a significant contribution, and you're starting to see USAID personnel in some of those areas of Negros and southern Leyte and the areas that got hit pretty badly. Northern, Negros Oriental, the north part, of the island. I don't know the geography down in Negros that well. Let's say, okay, medium income. So $1,800 per month is what we're bringing over. And if you live in the city, you're going to pay more. You know, Hosea said in here that that it will run you about $2,000 a month for a comfortable existence there, and I believe he's right. I believe if you're in that the area of influence, IT Park and Ayala, Ayala is really where I wanted to be. There's nothing like hanging out at Bo's in the morning, you know, sipping that cup of coffee, watching the world go by. Most of you have probably done it. It's a beautiful thing. I would sit there at Bo's and I think to myself, life cannot get any better than this. So, okay, so if you want to survive here in the States on that kind of money, well, you know, you can do it. There's cultural shift that's going on here in the United States, and it's starting to look very, very much like the Philippines. You know, and that cultural shift is that people you have 2 and 3 families moving into purchasing homes and moving in together. Same thing's happening in apartment style living. You're getting 2 families putting them together, and then they're sharing the rent and the expenses in order to make their lives a little bit easier to live. And I'm a fan of that. I'm actually a fan of that. And so you got to do whatever works. But what does it remind you of? It kind of reminds you of the way that people are living and have always lived in most parts of the world. I mean, the United States is a weird country. I mean, if you haven't gone around traveling around, you kind of look back. Once you start traveling around globally, you kind of look back at the United States. And you kind of go, man, there's something that's peculiar about our country, you know. By the way, that peculiarity is not the reason why, you know, why I'm leaving. I think I've spelled it out that it's because nobody wants to live in poverty, and that's what would happen to me, and that's what would happen to many if we were to stay here. We'd be considered the poor. Right? And nobody wants to work until they're in their 80s, but people do work until they die, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as you want to do it. And it's not a necessity. You know, it's about, you want to do it because you have this love of working. And that's where I'm coming from. So what do we have here? We only have a few more minutes, right, before New Year's in the Philippines, right? Isn't it like midnight coming up? All right. So anyway, so here's the other reason, economically. Okay, prior to Odette, prior to COVID and these things, the Philippines was experiencing tremendous amounts of economic growth. The growth rate was something like what, 7 to 9%? Am I right about that? And here in the United States, we're eking out 2 and 3%, and yet we're living with 6% inflation, which isn't even the real inflation number. Why would you want to suffer when other countries are waiting for you saying, please move here and enjoy what we have to offer? See, they want us there. They want us there. You know, I get no love here in California. I don't feel the hugs. I don't. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't. Not when they're taxing the daylight out of me. Everywhere we turn, we're getting taxed. I could hardly wait to pay taxes in the Philippines. Oh, by the way, they don't tax your Social Security nor your pension in the Philippines. I'm not sure if that's a formal agreement or not, but they don't. But money that you earn there, of course, you're gonna be taxed on. And so I hope that Minnie decides that she wants to work there because she's kind of young, you know, or start a business there of some kind, and she continues on with her that she has a career path or she creates one. Let's see. All right, so All right, we covered the money. Let's talk about the house. We were talking about the house, and we were talking about, some people, nobody here, I know for sure. A couple comments about the $800 a month in the house, and they started talking about young Filipinas being interested in older guys. I think I covered that. They're if they think that they're not, then they're detached from reality. There are plenty of bloggers that you could look at. You could look at on YouTube. They're living wonderful lives. They're older guys like me with younger women. And I think that's the way the world is supposed to work. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just too far out there. But foreigners are providing a level of stability for their wives' families. But the bottom line is you're a team. You work as a team to make the whole machine go. And that's the motivation for wanting to be there. So housing, yes, you're going to pay rent. You're going to pay rent. And the rent is okay, we were lucky. Minnie and I were lucky. Here's what I want to say about that. Guys, houses aren't investments. They're not even investments here in the United States. They're places where you call home, that you provide stability for your family. That's the idea behind a house. Just because we had this spike, and in my and Minnie's case, it turned out to be an opportunity, that happens like only once or twice in a lifetime. And so you don't buy a house because it's going to appreciate in value. Just think about what was going on here in the United States in 2005 and 2008. So I just want to point out, people went to the bank and they handed them the keys and they said, you can take your house back. I'm no longer going to make the mortgage payment because I'm not getting any appreciated value. What the hell? I couldn't even understand it. I was like shocked. I had people in my family that actually did that for that reason, because they weren't getting any appreciated value. No. I delivered pizzas at night in order to make the mortgage payment on the house. I delivered pizza. It was about providing stability for your family. Do you realize how children become so insecure when the family moves around a lot? The key to a secure kid is don't move. Provide, stable housing until that kid leaves home and heads off to college or school or whatever. That's the way it's done here, but I still think it's a weird part of American culture. I mean, it's sort of a ridiculous notion that you would kick your own blood out of a house simply because they turn 18. It's ridiculous. No. It's supposed to be more like it happens in the Philippines, in my opinion. You see, the children help provide for the welfare of the family once they become 18. I say kids, but I don't mean kids. I mean, once they enter that realm of adulthood, which probably is a lot younger there than it is here, because of the responsibilities that the kids have to help support their families. That's the way it should be here, So if you want to build a big house in the US of A and have all your children grow up, all your kids and your kids grow up there, I'm good with that idea. It should be the same here as it is anywhere. I mean, the fact that you bounce them out of the house at 18, it never has made any sense to me. Go out, seek your independence. And you're a scared 18-year-old, you're looking around the world going, oh, holy crap. I'm facing $2,200, $1,500, $2,200 house payments or rent payments on a $15 per hour job. It just doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. It's craziness. So that is the other thing that I like about not only the Philippines, but all other parts of the world. You show me where it doesn't work that way. You show me where it doesn't work that way. Maybe in the UK, maybe in places where they provide subsidized housing. Oh, anyway. One more thing before I get heavy into the house. I meant to say about the medical stuff. It's a dysfunctional system that we have going on here. It's dysfunctional. It doesn't work. It's too expensive. They monetize everything here in the United States. How about you take care of the person coming in seeking medical assistance just because they're a human being? How about that idea? Why does everything have to be monetized? And so over in the Philippines, you have Western trained doctors that understand that they can come to the United States anytime they want and work. But do they leave? No. Do doctors, Western trained doctors in Thailand, leave for the United States because they know they can make $500,000 a year? No. Why don't they leave? Because it's about helping people. It's the way things used to be here. It's about the way things used to be here. And will we ever see those days again? I'm not sure that we will, honestly. I'm not sure that we will. But so in the Philippines, you're going to pay for it, but you also have insurance options. So I just wanted to show you that I'm exploring them. I don't know how that's going to come out on camera, but want to take a look at this. It's available. And it's not cost prohibitive. And so I have to figure it out. I have to figure out whether I'm going to self-insure or if I'm going to get some help. Oh, am I going to come back to the United States for medical care? Well, I got to tell you, I don't think so, because why would you do it? I mean, here's what I'm thinking. I'm not saying yes. I'm not really saying no. But think about this. Think about the medical care that you can get in some of those private hospitals in the Philippines. Think about St. Luke's in Manila. Think about the 2 private or 3 private hospitals that you have in Cebu. Or let's say that you weren't satisfied with going in there and getting treated there. All you have to do is hop on a plane, and in 4 hours, you're at Bangkok Hospital, for crying out loud. You're at one of the finest hospitals on the entire planet. Is only 4 hours away from Manila or from Clark. I mean, think about it. Okay, I'll copy and paste the link. Yes, I'll put it in the description. Here's how I'm going to do it, since I don't know what I'm doing. I will copy and paste it into the video. I'll embed that into the video. Okay. I got to figure it out. It's going to take me a little while to figure this out. I know you can do this stuff on the fly, but all right. So where else? Okay. So moving on to housing. So building the house was not an investment. No, it was for stability. And so whoever says, "Oh yeah, once your wife divorced you," what? Divorce? What? The D word. Oh, heaven forbid. Once she kicks you out of the house and she takes ownership of the home. People, I got to tell you something. I hope you understand this. I don't know if you guys are going to be shocked when I say this or not, but Minnie paid for the majority of the building of the house. She has a job. She has her own money. She saved like crazy to make this happen. But even if I came to the rescue once we realized that construction costs were going crazy, material costs keep rising and rising and rising. If you've ever tried to build a house here in the Philippines, you know that it's happening that way. Unexpected expenses, they will crop up. And so, hey, I took the bull by the horns, I said, well, we got to get this project done, and so we did have a bit of a windfall with the sale of our house in Sacramento. That was purely an accident. That was purely dumb luck, quite frankly. Who knew Who knew that United States housing was going to go nuts like that? It's both a very positive yet very sad state of affairs all at the same time. No, I don't think about what happens when my wife decides that she no longer wants to be with me. She wants to be with someone her own age, and sends me on my merry way. You know, I mean, I think the whole premise of it is ridiculous. Besides that, isn't it mostly the Westerners that behave like that? You know, when they go over there and they see some young honey walking down the street, and they're kind of going, "Oh, hey, you know, I'd rather be with her," you know, and the next thing you know, off they go, you know, messing up their relationships. I mean, occasionally, you know, relationships will falter for one reason or another. I understand that, but no, I don't think about stuff like that. I think I think it's kind of weird to be thinking that way. You know, I mean, don't you? Don't you think it's kind of weird to be thinking like that? Okay. Anyway, we're getting close to midnight. Filipinos live on their average income, as I said, and we're talking about combined income, you know, in the major cities and the provinces, and they're taking an average, right? $250 per month. And so you're thinking that $800 per month won't cut it in the province, and I'm saying to you, it will. You know, it will, because we know folks that are living there in Bye City, and that is their income. Okay, so, and they don't look like they're hurting to me. They have Western style apartments, Western style amenities. They're eating a combination of Western style food and Filipino food. I'm very, very lucky in that I enjoy Filipino food very, very much. You know, it did not take me long to get used to it, and probably it's because of my heritage. And so now I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. So in any event, I've gone on long enough. If you'd like to comment, once I post this to video, then I will be more than happy to respond. I really, really appreciate everybody joining me for my first and last live stream of 2021. And you enjoy or look forward to 2022. And I would imagine that you wouldn't be here unless you were already over there in the Philippines, or you were planning on moving there sometime in the very, very near future. Let's see, Randall, let's see. Thank you very much for your compliment. And everybody, don't be late for work if you're still out there working. I'm lucky I got the day off today. And so you guys have a nice evening. Happy New Year. And I hope that 2022 treats you very well. Bye-bye.